The Bessie Health and Allied Technology, or BHAT, holds a lot of our occupational programs. The first that we're going to see as we walk in will be our nursing program. Okay, so it's like walking into a hospital. Hey, Ross. How you doing today?
I'm doing.
All right, good. Will you show us around?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. Let me start with this is our simulation center here at Bay College, used for our nursing, EMT, and paramedic programs.
So my name's Ross Berkowitz. I'm one of
Sorry.
Step away from the door a little bit. My name's Ross Berkowitz. I'm one of the syntax here at Bay College. I'm going to kind of give you a little tour of our facilities here, what we have, what we offer, kind of the purpose of the simulation center, and things like that. And if Jessica has any questions, I'll try to fill you in as we go. So this is kind of our first little area here. This is our nursing station. This is where students will come in. They'll get their report from their instructors as they're going to be going through simulation. We have resources, manuals, things like that they're able to resource when they're coming through. We have our medication cart. Another thing to kind of make it a little bit more on the realistic side, we've kind of moved from having paper charts for students where they would be flipping through a binder, where it's going to be more realistic what you're going to be experiencing when you're out inside the real world of nursing. Everything that you're going to have for the patient will be online on a computer. You'll be able to go and input, take look at past their previous times in the hospital, and we pretty much build a lot of these from the ground up. A lot of them are pre-populated, but we go through and we tweak them to kind of more of what we want them to be. We don't follow the generic simulations that are given to us in the beginning. So they'll get everything that they need for the patient. Then we have 4 different rooms here within our simulated hospital with a couple different patients. So I'll kind of bring you in, I'll introduce you to a couple of them. The first one we have right here is SimMan. SimMan is the mannequin that is used the most for simulation purposes. Kind of his, I'm trying to think kind of a way to put it. He's one that the students will use the most. He can have a whole bunch of different complications, problems that can be given to him. He does a lot of different things too. He breathes, he blinks. His pupils will react to light, so you can do like a neurovascular check, and you can be checking his, checking to see if his pupils react to the light and things like that. When he breathes, you can actually hear the lung sounds underneath, so you can listen to his lung sounds on the front and in the back on his back. You can listen to his heart. He has pulses from head to toe, so you can feel for pulses. You can get a pulse count. We can change all that as well. So if he needs to have a fast pulse, I can make it a very fast pulse. If I need it to really slow down, I can do that too.
Where do you do that at, Ross? Where do you change those things at?
Inside our control room, on the other side of this little one-way mirror that we have here, that's where I'll be sitting. Well, usually with the instructor as well, and we'll be monitoring the entire thing as well. We have cameras, one here and then one here behind me, and then we also have microphones inside the rooms where we're listening to what's going on inside the sim lab at all times. We're we're feeding off of you. And then I'll play the voice usually, or sometimes the instructor. We do have a few instructors that like to do that. We play the voice of your patient as well. So you're not just sitting here having a lifelike mannequin that just sits there and blinks and stares off into the distance. I'll actually be here and I'll be talking to you. Sometimes we'll even pull the mannequin out of the room and we'll have a real patient, a real person laying in here, and not giving you an actor, giving you kind of what you can expect for certain things. If you have someone that's got schizophrenia and you have just him laying in bed talking to you, it's not going to have the same effect as a person sitting in the room giving you kind of that, having those signs and symptoms and kind of the mentality of what it's like to have schizophrenia. So we try to make it as realistic as possible when students come in, and sometimes it involves having a real person in the room. So that's kind of that extra mile that we go to for trying to make the sim experience as realistic as possible for the students.
Is there anything in here that wouldn't be in a hospital room, or anything a hospital room would have that this doesn't?
A few things, yeah. Usually like kind of call lights, things like that. We kind of bring in kind of the bare minimum, or not bare minimum, kind of the things that you're going to see in most rooms, but we kind of keep it to a more limited extent at the same time. Like we do have uh, oxygen nozzles, things like that. So if you do need to hook your patient up, and they actually work, if you need to hook your patient up and put them on oxygen, you can actually turn the oxygen on. We have things like suction as well. We do have a patient monitor as well. It's completely all touchscreen. Patients, or not patients, the students can go through and they can utilize those, and that's another thing that they can use to kind of start. Term I like to use is turning over stones, looking for, just trying to build a little bit more of what's going on with this patient, trying to discover a few more things. There's things that, patient might not be showing, but when you look at that, you go, huh, something's a little weird. I'm seeing like, some PVCs on your EKG, things like that. So it's little things that we try to have here in the inside the simulation environment that will add to that experience as well. We have IV pumps. These are Alaris pumps. They're what are being used out in the hospitals right now. We just got a grant. We got these probably within the last year. So we have one here at this campus, one at our west campus as well. So we're trying to keep up to date with the equipment, things like that. The students will be seeing when they're out in the real world too.
Cool.
So this is SimMom's room. SimMom is our birthing simulator. So when you come in here, SimMom has a inside of her big pregnant belly. We can have this little one actually she can have a device put into her that will actually birth this little guy or little girl, little whatever. So that's one of the things is, we have students that come through and like, well, I've never, especially like the male students, some possible, or some of our female patients haven't experienced birth before. This is a way for them to kind of get that hands-on of, you've never seen it before, when we'd like to keep it in a controlled environment to where if we need to, we can pause time, we can rewind time, things like that. This is a safe, controlled environment where we're here for your learning. We're here to help you learn. So being able to come in here and see your very first birth in a simulated environment, it's a lot less stressful than going out into the real world and having your first birth and it being an actual birth. So being able to come in here, it's a lot more of a safe, I'm trying to think kind of like the way to put it. It's a safer learning environment. It's very controlled.
If you make a mistake, there's no real problem. It's just
if you make a mistake, if something happens during the childbirth, a complication, and things go haywire in here, you're going to learn from that experience. We can start it over again. If you go into the real world and you make that mistake, there can be consequences that come from that. So being able to do it in here and learning from that mistake, it makes a whole lot of difference. I went through the EMT and paramedic program here at Bay College, and I learned more from my mistakes than I did from doing things properly. You learn not to give that medication, or this is what you need to do at this time. So it's a lot more of a fluidity when you go out into the real world. Not only can she give birth to the little one, but she also has another contraption that we can put in where after a female gives birth, the fundus is another thing. Women can bleed for a little while afterwards, and we can actually have her have a postpartum hemorrhage after. So that's another simulation that students can come through and things like that, to the point where they're going to have to learn what they need to do for that kind of situation. So this is our maternity ward. We have a baby warmer over here. It works, everything. If students are going to come in expecting to be delivering a baby, they can come in. This is something that they can turn on. Same thing with her. She can have fluids come in. She doesn't have as much of the cool features as what Simon has, or our SimMan mannequin has, but she's still a pretty amazing simulator that we have here at the college. I mean, I never would have thought that you could practice giving birth, or practice someone going through labor and you being there for them. I never would have, before coming through this, I never would have thought that you'd be able to do something like that. So,
Hey Ross, you had mentioned that some people who go through this program have not been pregnant, either male or just women who have not yet given birth. Do you have something that helps them with the empathy in that regard? Your best.
Oh yeah. We do. We about maybe a year and a half ago, we got a empathy belly, which is a kind of a vest that you put on, and then it's filled with like about 2-3 gallons worth of water, and it simulates kind of that feeling of what it's like to be pregnant. It puts a lot of strain, kind of really wears you down. We get there's like two like kind of cannonball size things that go in and it pushes on your sides on your bladder. There's one that goes in the back and it kind of rubs against your lower lumbar. It makes it really uncomfortable. And Jessica actually saw me walking around with it for a
It
little
was
while.
fantastic.
And yeah, I think I wore it for probably about 2 hours between walking, standing, sitting down. I was like, yeah, I can't take this anymore because it was a lot of weight. And I mean, my growth with it wasn't over 9 months. It was all put on me at one time. I'm like, holy cow! And I actually got to the point where I was doing my back is killing me, kind of walking around. So yeah, we do what we can to kind of give people that realistic experience. Another one that we have is our bariatric suit, which is a patient that's morbidly obese, and we have a suit that can simulate that. And we have there's a checklist that came with it for students to put it on and then just perform simple tasks. And the same thing came with the maternity belly as well. It gives you these simple little tasks for you to do, and it shows you how complicated it can be to do something as simple as dropping something on the floor and bending over to pick that up. It gives you that empathy to really be there and understand this, know kind of what your patients are going through. It gives you an idea. It doesn't give you that like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but like, hey, I've gone through an experience where I can kind of sympathize and understand what you're going through in that process.
Cool. Hey, can you also tell me about the trip she takes with our paramedic and EMT students?
Yeah, we will actually. We here at Bay College we have a fully loaded ambulance that is all set up and it has cameras in there for us to record. And the students will actually use it, and we will actually put her onto the cot and we'll put her in the back of the rig, and you will deliver the baby while you're driving around campus. So it's a lot of fun.
That's great. All right, cool. Let's go see the rest.
Go with that juniors right there. So this is little Junior. Junior is our kind of child mannequin. Kind of ranges from like I say he's about like 6 to 9, 5 to 9 age range. This is one of the things we have him for. This is one of the patients that you'll see, and actually quite a bit when you're working in medicine. You'll have the kids that are, like I was shocked I didn't spend more time in the hospital, but you get the kids that are falling off their bikes and things like that. So we do have this mannequin. He's a lot less of I'm trying to think the way to put it.
He's not as high tech, maybe as.
Yeah. He's not as high tech as what like Sim Man is. His eyes kind of stay pretty much closed. He does have little like eyeballs inside his eyes if you need to open up and take a look. But his main things you're really going to see with him is he breathes, has lung sounds, heart sounds. He has a seizure function that can go on, because that is a thing that is very common with children, is febrile seizures, especially during like flu season, things like that. Yeah, he's a lot less tech based, but it's still a great thing, because honestly I've been working in EMS for 4 years, and every time I get a call for a child, everything just goes out my head, and you I don't want to say you panic, but you really have to focus on what you're doing in that point. And like I hate calls and I don't hate working with children, but I hate calls with children because it's such a heart-wrenching thing, and we want to be able to give students an opportunity to understand what it can be like coming into a room like this. And not only do you have usually just your patient, but you have family members, and those family members can be very distraught depending on what the problem is. So it's not only dealing with that child, but you're also dealing with the family at the same time.
So it's a lot of getting used to the emotion, or trying to find a way to deal with the emotion in these situations.
Yes,
is that
exactly
accurate?
Yeah, they're and children, they'll kind of read off a lot of things, and the other thing with kids is you never want to lie to them when they say, "Is it gonna hurt?" You want to say no, but you have to be that person like, "Yeah, it's gonna hurt," but we have to do this. So yeah, it's one of those things that we will bring this in, and we'll be in the control room, we'll be voicing for the patient and getting you to kind of go through those things, and you'll say something and I'll react to that, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or I should have said it differently, worded it differently. So it's little things like that too. And this to me is more learning that social aspect, on top of your medical aspect when you come into this room.
Absolutely. It's a very emotional room to come into. I think most people avoid this one.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like coming into this one.
Yeah. Well, let's go see the babies.
This is our NICU pediatric wing that we have here at the college. We do have a special guest. This is actually one of our newest mannequins. This is Nurse Ann. She is, I think we had her installed back in November, so she's relatively new. She's only a couple months old here at the college. One of the great things to me about her is she's a lot more like how Simman is. She is
high tech,
head to toe high tech. She blinks just like him, breathes, everything. But what I love about her is she is completely portable. She doesn't come like kind of hardwired into the walls, things like that. But one of the other great things about her is she bends, which I think is just great. She has joints that can be manipulated, whereas he is extremely stiff. His arms don't really bend. His legs bend probably about this far. So he's very stiff, whereas we can prop her into a chair. We can bring her around campus, and that's one of the things that we like to surprise students with every once in a while. Is we'll have them placed into a situation where they're going to be interacting with other people, or it'll be something, it's something where you're walking around out in town and someone collapses and you're there and you have to help them out. This is what we kind of try to add that aspect into this, where students will come around like, oh my gosh, we need help, and then you run in and that's who's sitting in the chair, laying on the floor. You'll get like kind of that idea of it. And it kind of just adds to that stress because you're not inside your usual environment. You're kind of in an area where you're not, it's not your the area where you're used to being. You're in
outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, comfort zone. Thank you. I was trying to think of the word. Yeah, you're outside your comfort zone. You're in a place that you're not used to being. So yeah, she's one of our newest additions here at the college. And then this is our little itty bitty tot. Newbie. This is Newbie. Newbie is our newborn mannequin. It's a little bit bigger. Makes it a little easier for assessments, things like that. But usually when we'll be doing birthing simulations, we'll call a timeout after the baby's been birthed. And then this is the one that you'll come in and you'll be taken care of, because the baby that comes out of SimMom is kind of just more of a dummy. It doesn't do much. It kind of just is a little floppy, but we'll call a timeout. You'll come in, and then this is the baby that you'll be taken care of. So with this one, it has breathes, it has pulses, but then also one of the cool things is it has a pulse in its umbilical cord. Babies will actually have that after they're born for about a day or two, and then it'll start kind of drying up, and it doesn't have that anymore. That's kind of one of the things that makes it a little bit nicer for this one. We'll usually put some kind of gunk stuff on it to kind of give it a little bit more of that realistic look of when a baby does come out. It does have the little LED blue ring around the mouth that stimulates cyanosis. So if the baby comes out and it's not breathing properly, you'll kind of start seeing like a bluish skin, which is very common when you have in a lot of newborns until they kind of start, open up their lungs and crying. So we have that one, and then this is our newest little friend. This is our tot mannequin, and she came to us about probably a year ago, and like Nurse Ann and like SimMan, she is completely wireless and she's extremely high tech. Her eyes, if I can get one open, maybe. Her eyes will actually, just like how theirs will react to light. And there we go. She skin is kind of a little bit more on a realistic feel of as to how he is. His is more of a rubbery plastic. Hers is more of a latex kind of a feel. So it has a little bit more of a, to me, a natural feel. It kind of has like a squishiness kind of as opposed to how he is. Same thing with the toes, legs bend, everything, arms bend. She has a soft spot on the top of her head as well.
Can you show me that, Ross?
Yeah, right here. So, and we can actually have this bulge and things like that. It's like simulating some intracranial pressure. It has a spot on its side or here in its abdomen where you can feel an enlarged liver if we needed that. She does seize. She has several different ones where it can be like a focal seizure where just her eyes are moving. She can have just one side seizing, things like that as well. And one of the cool things too, this mannequin and the newbie mannequin are the only ones who actually have like passive movement. So as they're laying there, the arms are gonna randomly move and the legs will kind of give a little kick every once in a while too. So they'll actually have some kind of more realistic movement as opposed to our bigger mannequins where they kind of just mostly lay there, don't do a whole lot. But yeah, she is, to me, I think she's one of our cooler mannequins that we have. She's extremely, just for how small she is, she has a lot of really cool features included to her. She has a capillary refill. Kind of what that is if you take your, anywhere on your skin, if you kind of squeeze down and then let go, how it turns white and then they'll slowly turn red again. She has that feature on her hand. She's not turned on right now, but if you squeeze her hand for a few seconds, a light actually turns on, and then she also has it right here kind of on her sternum. If you press that, the light will turn on, and then it'll actually dim down. That's another cool thing that she has. And for her cyanosis that she'll get, hers is kind of more in her cheeks, so you'll see her cheeks actually turn blue, which to me I think is kind of neat, and it's a lot more predominant in her than any of the other mannequins, where in the mouth it's, if the lights aren't on, or if the lights are on, it's a little hard to see, but her with the lights on, it's very, very, very easy to see on her too.
Very good, thank you. So this nursing simulation center is just super high tech, one of the only in its kind in the Midwest, so we're really proud of that. I want you to know that we have a lot of different options for students who are interested in the healthcare field. So new for fall, we have clinical medical assistant coming online. We have RN, LPN, so 1 year to LPN, 1 year in a summer, 2 years in a summer to RN. You can do your entire bachelor's degree here through Lake Superior State University. We have the EMT program, we have the paramedic program, we have a phlebotomy option in our health careers, and farm tech also through our health careers options. So we have a lot of different things. If you are thinking about healthcare, anything from CNA to becoming a doctor, we can help you with that. So definitely keep us in mind for anything healthcare. Okay, so we're coming out of the sim lab, and I wanted to show you a couple of other places over here in nursing. This is actually one of our nursing lecture spaces. And you can see it's not just lecture, it's also lab. This is how we like to teach our occupational groups like nursing. So this would be where your lecture is taking place. Look at your class size. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 people in this class, right? They're gonna learn, they're gonna do the book learning right here, and then they immediately get to move over directly into lab. So they're going to do the things like, how do you talk to a patient? How do you stitch them up? How do you administer drugs if they have just had knee surgery, making sure that you don't run these little tables into their knees, things like that. So all of this is so important. There's so much that goes into becoming a nurse, and we want to make sure to train our students just absolutely as well as possible. So then over here, Ross had mentioned in the sim lab that we have a lot of microphones and cameras in these spaces. That is so that we can record what's happening in our sim rooms, and our students can watch for themselves how they did. When that is complete, they come over here as a student group, because simulations are done as a group, and they get to watch themselves. This is not for grading purposes. It's simply so that students can critique themselves. I used to work at the College of Michigan State University's College of Human Medicine, and one time I had a student tell me how well he thought he did in his simulation with a patient, and he had spent 5 minutes reading that patient's file before talking to them. He was in the room reading their file, and he was going to deliver the message about whether or not they had cancer. And he thought he did great. And then when he left the room and watched his own simulation, he felt terrible because he couldn't imagine how that person felt waiting for the news of whether they had cancer or not for 5 minutes while he read the file. So he was able to make some decisions about how he would move forward and read the file before he entered the room. So critical to be able to watch yourself, just like athletes do. If you can watch yourself do those things that you are practicing, you really can learn a lot from yourself and get better. Now, I've kind of taken the inside way over here, but right over here next to these simulation and viewing spaces is our Allied Health Division offices. Again, we're closed right now, so you won't see much, but here we go. Here's our Allied Health offices.